myself. Okay, and then I'll just share screen. Wow. Okay. And I'll use the notepad again. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So, okay. So you asked about the strengthened ringgit. Why is strengthened related to elections? And I will say it's actually because ringgit has been strong against USD. Okay, that's a fact that you can check to let's say some website like this USD. Okay, this XE.com. So I think yeah, actually really strong because from a few years ago we have moved back to about 3.94 as of like today. And that's actually very impressive. I don't think we have even become anywhere near to 4 for a while already. And typically this happens when the domestic say I don't know consumption or maybe like growth is strong compared to other country, and then and election may bring up like a positive kind of a sentiment whereby people will believe that okay, after the political instability uh, has subsided, because I think a lot of people are expecting BN to win again, and then with that, the government will be a stable one, hopefully, and then the country might be on another growth trend lah. So then you actually have quite a lot of like how do they call it, the other chain effects, because maybe they will spur domestic projects in the sense that they will encourage a lot of projects to be given to the local developers and all. uh, yeah, local developers, and just so that's why lah, the strengthening ringgit is usually because of positive news, and also it can be the exchange rate can be affected by a number of reasons. So exchange rate is correlated with interest rates as well, and then maybe your export. Sorry, I think it will be your export. If you export more, I think your exchange rate. Yeah, if you export, it's very competitive. Okay, it's hard to say. Okay, exchange rate is correlated with interest rate. So not sure if you're aware lah, but Malaysia has been trying to hike their interest rate. Oh, hi Andrew.
Hey, hi. I'm trying to figure out my Google Hangout. Something's wrong with it.
Okay, but we can hear you perfectly. Yeah.
Okay, alright.
Yeah.
Okay,
So just for your info, on the Bank Negara website, you can check all this information lah. So our rates have been hovering around 3% or so, and there's been a lot of like chatter that we may raise the rates. Yeah. So the recent one was in 2 years ago in July. When the rates are raised, then there'll be another like effect of strengthening ringgit, and then so this will benefit a strong RM will benefit your importers because then the raw material costs will go down. Yeah, that's basically the relationship that is being at play here. Okay, stream to see the chat, right? So okay, let me see. Okay, never mind. So anyway, I wanted to start a lesson with something about your investment style. It's just it's just a very quick like mathematical exercise where we talk about okay, people always say that stock investment is like a high risk, high return thing where where you can expect to get like a higher returns than FD over the longer period of time lah. So then this is just like a basic scenario. Okay. And this is where we're talking about how does risk taking really like impact your returns. And I'm just putting it out there, yeah. I think I should hide this thing. So um okay, just on like a hunch, right, for you guys, do you guys think that a strategy that has a high okay, so let's say strategy A has a high variance in returns and also um high variance in returns, and then strategy B has a lower variance but always positive, and then sometimes we go negative. So two investment strategies. Which one do you think will perform better in the long run? So one, okay, more extreme return, sometimes it's negative, but like I'm talking about maybe 20% plus or minus 20% year on year. And this is probably like plus 15% year on year. So which one do you think will give you higher returns over a long period of time?
Strategy A.
Strategy A, yeah. Okay, I think that's Andrew. So how about Chui Chin and also Jun Feng, Julian? You can type your answer or just say it out. Okay, so Jun Feng says B, and then okay, so Andrew and uh, Chui Chin for A, yeah, and then this is again. Okay, so but then okay, yeah, so the answer is actually B, low variance one, and it's actually very surprising for me when I learned about it as well lah. But you can sort of like compute this. That is okay, so I'm giving two scenarios whereby the scenario A is your high growth and high loss and I was setting this time series to be about 20% growth year on year, but in the final year it actually takes a hit of 30%. So portfolio value goes down by 30%. Okay, and then scenario B is whereby every year is just really consistently giving back 15% every year. And so like at the end of say like year 8, you can already see like, oh, there's a very big difference, right? 4,000 something and then like 3,000 is like almost 33% difference. But afterwards, after the crash sets in, even just for a single year, towards the end as well, you actually like drag down the value to here. And I think we can actually do like an exercise where I just change this number to 1.2 lah. Okay, I mean it's very high, but let's see you took the hit earlier in your investment journey. Yeah, this will still mean that you find it harder to recover in the if you have suffered a longer loss, sorry, a earlier loss, right? So you can see that once you take the hit, it's very hard to catch up even with like a 5% higher growth. But this might be a different story, I think, in the longer term. I'm not very sure.
Are you fluctuating your strategy A by only specific factor, a constant factor, is it?
Yeah, so A is growing by 20%. 20% after 20%, but when it goes back by 30%. And then for scenario B is 15% every year.
Oh, okay. Then I forgot it's 20 and 15%. If it was 20 and 10, I think your 20% will outperform the 10%.
Yeah.
I think there's a threshold, right?
Okay, that is true lah. So But okay, and that there's a second point where being like an actual investor, you actually how to say, you be influenced by your emotions and all, right? And actually, if you are consistently earning like a positive amount, you probably like sleep very well, sleep very well, and then just enjoy the gains over time. Or like, I mean, Andrew, you are right in the sense that, yeah, even after taking the initial hit, you can see that scenario A will outperform B over the very long run, very very long run lah. And assuming like you can go like 20% still afterwards. Uh, but I mean, when the hit really happens, a lot of people will find it very hard to stomach the loss as well. So some people like Warren Buffett, the way they build their wealth is really, if you look at like the graph, it's really like a hockey stick where it just takes off exponentially, and like the earlier years seems like really really insignificant in hindsight, because of the value of compounding. So okay, I have actually done this exercise in the past as well with uh, another I&B session. So this is something like this. This is just a trick lah. So let's say you have I am 100,000 in your account, and then somehow your investment returns you, let's say 12% a year. Your hey, what's the ballpark figure of your investment, of your portfolio after 20 years? Okay, I think I'll just make the numbers easier into round numbers. So, okay, putting 100,000 into your bank account after 20 years, every year you get about 10% back. Sorry, 10% extra on top of it, and then you just like keep on rolling that number. What do you think will be your portfolio amount after 20 years? I'll give you 1 minute to think about it, and you shouldn't be using any Excel sheets, because I won't be using it later when we come
Is
around
it
the figures.
600,000?
600,000, I think is a bit somewhere there. Actually, no, no, I'm not very sure, but let's give ourselves 1 minute to think about it. Sounds
Uh,
like it. Yeah.
are you allowing for calculator?
No, 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 you better don't.
Okay. Then
So,
then ignore my answer because I use the calculator.
oh, okay. Okay, never mind. Yeah, I shouldn't have used Excel or calculator, but okay. Anyway, okay, never mind, never mind. Let me change the numbers again. Okay, so 12%. 12%. So everyone, can you take a guess at what's the ballpark figure after 20 years? If like 100,000, 10% every year after 20 years is about 600,000. How is it like if you just add another 2% every year?
Uh,
Don't use
80,
any calculator.
800,000.
Okay, so Andrew says 800,000. Okay, more gas. You can be ambitious in your estimates. Oh, Rachel is in another call. Okay, no choice then. Okay, Chui Chin and also Julian. Okay, Chui Chin is 1 million. Interesting. 1 million.
Actually, just curious, right? So, when you say deriving a ballpark figure, you can actually do that with mental math, right?
Without, yeah, with very simple math, you can do it.
Mm.
Okay, Julia and Charis, can you take a guess?
Uh,
Yes.
900K.
Okay, very close. Okay lah. Okay, never mind. So I think the number is definitely around 900K. Yeah, as well. So okay, 1.3 million. That's all. There's a 2cc in our mind. Okay. Anyway, I think it's 900K. So let us just check. Uh, I was saying 1, 2 for 20 years lah. Actually, very close to 1 million. So I think Tri Chin got it right. Okay, so basically,
Oh wait,
uh,
so that one just now your interest is calculated compounded annually at the end, right?
yep,
Do you
yeah,
get interest at the start of the year?
yes, at
Because you,
the start of the new year, yeah,
because you use power 20, that's why, right?
yeah, lor.
I was thinking power 19.
In 19, 20, yeah lah. It's quite a big difference. But never mind.
Okay, okay.
Uh, okay, I really just want to show you like the calculation that goes behind it. But it seems like most of you have known about it. It is the 72 rule. So to find out how much it takes for your investment to double at uh, X% interest rate, how many years lah? How many years it takes? Use the 72 rule. As in 72 divided. Okay, so years to double equal to 72 divided by your X. So in this case it's 12, right? So it's around so it's actually 6 years to double your investment. So in this sense, so in this sense, you grow to about 100K at year 6, 100K at year 12, and then 800K at year 18. Which is why around year 20 you are probably near 1 million. And that is a very quick way of how people can figure out the interest rates, um, figure out their portfolio growth lah. Your desired portfolio growth should sort of like um, you should sort of have a sense of how your portfolio will grow when you commit to an investment, let's say to a property or let's say to just a FD. Because if the FD, let's say, is only 3%, uh, it's going to take you 24 years to double instead, right? 24 compared to 6. Actually, a really, really big difference. I mean, this is 12 though. So something you can probably get from property or stocks. So yeah, and that really like gives you a sense of how compounding can be very powerful because it's an exponential growth, which also means that it's actually very desirable to start your investment at a higher base lah. Because at a higher base, you're able to leverage, um, not to say leverage, but to ride on this capital base and like um, so that you don't like start at a really really small base, earn a really high return, but it's still very small compared to other people's like portfolio in terms of the absolute value. And actually, yeah, so that's just mathematical exercises I wanted us to go through before I go into like further details of how you can analyze a company. So yeah, hey, okay. I think last time I talked about the uh, so I talked about the few ratios that you can look up for. Okay, there are a few ratios you can look up for comparing different stocks. So I think quite a lot of you guys weren't here at the time. So that would be, and there are a few tools that you should like record just so that in the future you can visit all these sites for your investment research. Right. So on the stock screener, I think this is the best screener you can get, KYC screener. If anyone has already tried this, you can just like shout out or just drop a comment and tell me how you have found the platform. So basically, quite a lot of filters here with the dividends yield, and also I mean typically go for ratios because you can see some of the things here are, I think, price and market cap. They are not very especially like price is not really like a good filter because a stock can have very low price, but maybe their market cap is still really big. For example, maybe there's a stock like I don't know, Viva Corp. Generally, it's not a very good thing to have like a crazily diluted market stock base. So what happens is that, okay, people look at, okay, this stock being only 13 cents, they will think that it must be a really cheap company to own. Maybe it's like really undervalued and all. But then when you look at the shares, it's actually about 3.3 billion, and it still comes out to a 400 million market company. So this is very likely that a result of a lot of exercises where there are like extra shares or like bonus issues that will sometimes dilute the existing shareholders' rights on the on the on the earnings and also the dividend. So these are all some kind of warning signs. Sometimes you see the penny stocks. There must be a reason why they are how they are now. So all very worth looking into before you buy the stock. I'll just try to screen some really small companies, or maybe just go to the ACE market. Yeah, so you see like some of these companies can have about 1 ringgit something, but they are not super expensive in the sense that the market cap is actually much smaller than when you compare to Vivocom, about half the size. And that is a consider pretty good practice lah, because if you go down the route, there's quite a lot of companies like IFCAM was very famous for being a stock champion many years ago, but then the share price just collapsed sometime maybe 2 years ago or so. Um, yeah, I think the shares outstanding here is okay, 600 million. Okay, but all that I'm trying to like shift the focus on today is that beyond just the numbers, you should look at other actions. Yeah, so you can see how it has come up to about 2 ringgit in the span of 1 year, from 10 cents to 2 ringgit, and then all the way to where they are now.
Isn't that a sign of like pump and dump? It seems very
Yeah,
reminiscent of it.
actually it is because in the past, yeah, they were doing like uh, how to say it? Yeah, this is a software solution company. So, they get very high valuations and the business did not like materialize, even though they were saying like, oh, we'll write the IoT or maybe like the automation. What's the automation? I think it's the AI AI trend. So yeah, didn't really realize with not enough clients, so it just collapsed all the valuation. So anyway, okay, a lot of companies, okay, it's a requirement for companies to do two things. First of all is to regularly file their quarter reports. And secondly is to like host a investor relations site on their web page, on their official site. So for every listed company, they always have like a investor relations person and also like this sort of site whereby you not only look at you not only have like the access to quarterly reports, but also sometimes presentations that will feature the CEO or the CEO speaking to the analysts in a conference call. So I think these are still quarterly reports, innovation reports. Okay. Um, but okay, I don't think it's a very good example. Maybe AirAsia has presentations, and it's quite. They're quite famous for it because I think Tony Fernandez always try to appear lah, and you know how he has the presence of a very popular of being a very popular CEO. Mm,
Maybe you can check something bigger like UEM or Public Bank, Axiata.
yeah, that is true, but I'm just can't really find. You can also try to look it up together with me, because they should be quite available. Okay, operating statistics. Mm. Okay, so let's say operating statistics, something that they don't have to provide to the Bursa, the stock exchange, but they still feature in here. Is this sort of operating statistics that is like, beyond your income statement, your balance sheet, your cash flow statement? They have this on very specific metrics that the business is running on. So to let you have a sense of how things have improved in the sense of like your passenger capacity and how much has this load factor is basically how full is the flights are on average. And I think around 90 is quite impressive, although you can see very often above 90 in European budget flights like EasyJet and also Ryanair. So, but I mean, nonetheless, AirAsia is still a very well-run company in terms of the operations. So the ASK, if I'm not mistaken, has something to do with the miles and available seat miles. So yeah, seat miles, and I think RPK would be your revenue per something something. So
Revenue per capita, is it?
I don't think it's per capita. Okay, so KSM. Yeah, so KSM or CASK is your operating cost divided by your seat mile. So how much you have flown and all. So this is basically a metrics of efficiency. And since they're expressing it as a full value, I'm imagining this probably the higher is the better. But this one we have to check. Maybe, yeah, I think I'll come back to this later.
Just quickly ask, right? So
Yes.
most of the time when you encounter terminologies of the matrices that the financial reports use, right? They are
Mhm.
mostly available online to search, is it? Or are there any cases you encounter like usually the matrices are actually quite they're
Mhm.
quite jargonish?
I mean, yeah, lah, specific industries like your oil and gas also, they'll talk about oil rig utilization, which can be very hard to understand. Like if you look at a research report, yeah, so okay, let's say this is an oil and gas company that does they use their jackup rigs. So it means like instead of using like their floating rigs, right? They actually like go into the sea and like just have like this vertical columns drilling down the sea lah, to extract the oil. So this is a floating one, and I'm talking about the alternative that is a jack up one, erected one in on the sea surface, and UMW is basically doing like this sort of renting. They're renting this platform to other companies, and their operating income basically comes from here. So you can see that there's a lot of how to say the I think the jargon will come from, okay, so oil field maintenance activities, and then with your then they talk about yields as well, as in what's the return every day of like renting this thing out, and then and then the yeah, so okay, I mean this is not to confuse you, but okay, so I think it'd be best if you try to like go through this together. And okay, so typically they get contracts to rent out these rigs for extended period of time. So let's say 6 months or so. And then okay lor, so and actually quite easy for the analyst to come up with the revenue estimate. The contract involves drilling two firm wells, okay, for a certain value, and you can put another two wells. I think wells probably mean the oil reserve in this case. So yeah, so in assuming that they take 50 days to drill, right? The jackup rigs will be used for 50 days. And then they were trying to calculate what's the average rental rate then. So it works out to this number, and then like they were discussing whether or not um, entire as a big picture, do they have like a full rig utilization? So maybe out of your 12 available rig charters, maybe 11 are being used at like full capacity and all whatnot. So and then they'll still see like whether or not the operation wise is still like a profit or loss. And the assumption here was that it's a loss still, things like that. So yeah, jargons are always around, but I mean it's also opportunity as well, because if the other people don't understand, like the layman do not understand what this metrics means, and you do, then you have a additional edge in interpreting the the strength of a certain company. So for these things, maybe alternatively we can try to look up at sorry, I mean try to dig up another company's maybe like EasyJet's report, just to compare like how's the operations like. Yeah lor. Okay, so thinking of that, yeah. So I was just saying like you get this sort of like pretty interesting updates and all. And typically this only happens with like really, really big companies who have the capacity to, have this sort of a PR person to cater the analysts and the media. And typically also, yeah, this is your normal updates, right? Financial statements, Versa announcement, innovation report. Okay, probably something old. Yeah lor. So I hope there is something else, because for a big company like Maybank, that's what I see. So presentations, these are meant for like it's more layman lah, and then it's more visual, usually very pretty as well. So after like a quick glance, you can more or less have an idea of how the business is doing. It's not your very, very like boring and dry financial statements. And also after you are become like an investor, right? You can actually like send emails to them asking about things that you are not clear, things that you find suspicious, let's say in the investor report, which requires clarification. And people sometimes even take the matters to an AGM to like so that they can discuss with other shareholders. These are all very important like shareholder actions that we can take. So yeah, basically this session is really to try to tell you like what resources are there for you to look at the companies at a very different angle. It's really not just about like the the reports that they file, but like how well do they build a website? Because say you are at a very small company, right? Sometimes, let's say you want to find out, okay, so you know that every company has a investor relations, right? But let's say you look at um, Brexit and you don't have any ideas what any idea what do they actually do? And Rexit Berhad is actually okay lah. So they have the website. And can click into it and you see, okay, this doesn't look like a very appealing website. So it tells you something lah, whether or not the as a technology company, do they actually have the capacity to appeal to investors and or even like just a very basic thing, coming up with a good website. Like I think one of the more impressive website I've seen is Chronology. Obviously, you cannot just attribute the future stock success to just a web page, how well designed it is. But it tells you a lot of information. And I'm saying this because you can, let's say, look at okay, let's say the
Actually,
management, yeah.
here you can look at Axiata. Axiata's investor relations page is quite very well organized, lah, to my
Okay,
opinion.
let's see. Options. Yeah, this is pretty good. Yeah, with the presentations as well. Yeah, lor. It's quite wordy, yeah. But then these charts probably can really help you understand and like all the how the borrowings are doing. Maybe we'll talk about future plans as well. Is there any expansion? How are they gonna use the cash? Yeah, things like that. So yeah, lor. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, so with that in mind, another way you can like look at a company is actually to but personally I find it because you are in the age of big data, right? You can actually go to say Glassdoor reviews and just see like what are people saying about a particular company. So for chronology, I think there were a few comments. So and you can find out okay where is this company physically located at. It will be actually very near your sorry your if you're in KL, it actually be most of the time very close to you. Like I think there was another company called Microlink, which I'm in. It's a big data business solutions company, and their office is just right at KLCC. And when I look up the management info, I think they had someone who were from previously from Oracle, and they had someone graduated from I think Oxford or Cambridge, and these are all like signals that you can get the in the sense that these are the quality of the management that you don't typically see. Yeah, so pretty okay website, and they tell you give you a very like clear story of what these companies' business are, and so with the and most of the time these people might have a LinkedIn profile, and you can like click on them and then try to see what do they list like as their expertise and all, so you can have a sense of how much technical know-how is there in the company. And I think moving forward, if you are because in this case I think in our activity we are not really investigating small companies, but this sort of exercise will be very useful when you look at like small gems and see whether or not they are fielding the right people at the right positions. And then combined with the Glassdoor, you can have a look at how the bottom level employees are doing. Are they complaining that this company has really Chinaman kind of management? Being a engineer here is not really like a very desirable thing. Yeah, so you see, so yeah, very bad working environment. I mean, it's just one sentence, and maybe when you move up to like I don't know, Sime Darby and all, there'll be tons of them. And obviously they'll come from very many different positions. So maybe we can look at how the middle management are talking about working there, stuff like that. So this is not a very strong indicator of the company success, but nonetheless, it's something I think moving forward, people will, I think even investment firms will consider like to initiate some kind of research because your big data all part of it, and it's quite easily accessible to use Glassdoor's information and or LinkedIn ones. So that's that lah. And yeah, basically, uh, yeah, my session was mainly to talk about these few avenues. I'm not sure if there are more areas where you can find out about um, company performance. Yeah, okay. And obviously, like to understand a company, annual report is also very important. Probably the most important thing because again, like you can see how much effort certain company puts in their annual report, and then um, typically there will be like a outlook from the. Okay, yeah. So maybe in the next like 15 minutes or so, we can spend them dissecting what an annual report looks like. Okay. There are a few requirements, and then this is really very laggy. I think it's a very big file. So requirements for annual report. Okay, let us summarize it somewhere. So Glassdoor and thinking and this presentation. Allow sources for alternative assessment or qualitative as well. So Glassdoor LinkedIn as well as your okay, I remember, but never mind. So okay, so annual report. Typically, a few things that I look for is the chairman's forward-looking statement.
Uh, okay, just a question here to point out, right? So, would you believe that sometimes the chairman's statement is pretty much an over-exaggerated picture of the company? Because, so I've prepared an annual report before, and I feel that our companies, um, I mean, I would say, on from an honest opinion, that sometimes a lot of the figures in a chairman's statement are highly exaggerated, lah. They are based on situations that may not have been materialized yet, or they are trying
Oh,
to a figure that sounds nice on paper, but in reality, it's a very poor benchmark against the industry. So, what do you think is your opinion about like what can supplement the chairman
okay.
without going too much into numbers?
We are going in too much into.
Without going too much into the numbers, because a chairman statement usually the descriptors are very in a positive tone.
Yeah.
They are talking about strategies, things that laymen can partake and understand. But when it comes to the figures, I would say that a lot of figures are sometimes questionable. So is there any
Oh,
kind of material in the annual report, like within the first 10, 12 pages that you can tell um,
okay, okay.
would complement the story?
I think on that, actually, I often find the chairman statement there's not a lot of original things usually because it's just an annual review. And I think from what I understand is that yeah, maybe they try to sugarcoat certain metrics and certain achievement as if they're very big. So for example, oh, we just won an award or we just got a certification in certain technologies. Then moving on, we can start to export this or like embark on different projects. But this is I think very normal in any corporate lah, that to overstate your achievements. And basically, so what this means is that yeah, you should discount whatever they say lah with a certain yeah with your own like with your own threshold whatever. Yeah, I do agree that they always try to paint like a very positive picture. Mm, but across the board, if everyone is doing that, you can also see who's uh actually like on average on in overall doing like a even better job than the others. So yeah. So what I'm just saying is that okay, it's there, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. Because when everyone is trying to, paint a good story, and suddenly you come across someone with like no story to sell, even if they want to. So that's also a sign of a distress. And yeah, lor. But all in all, chairman statement is usually very with a lot of clarity, in a sense that there's no misinformation. A lot of things will like um, and you can sort of see what's the priority in what they what they are presenting. So the company's focus and stuff is all there. Will be a good reference. Yeah, just in sum. So anyway, usually in the annual report, just to highlight a few things, definitely you have your financial highlights and okay, financial highlights. I just need to look at the financial statements. All right, so audited financial statements is really long. It's about half the annual report. Okay, half the annual report. Keep that in mind. So, and next thing that's quite interesting is also the top 10 properties, the shareholding statistics. So this tells you how much of the shareholding is composed by individuals or by bigger funds like Tabung Haji or maybe like EPF, and also tells you and then some AGM information. I think a lot of people that I know, only like Albert really regularly goes to AGM. But that's actually very nice because you get to meet the management and know you can see like face to face, right? In person, how these directors conduct themselves, how do they how do they face pressure from the shareholders? Are they very upfront about very transparent with regards to their performances and so on? So yep, that's one thing. I've yet to attend one in Malaysia. Looking forward to in this year. So okay, anyway, and management discussion, a few elements that I think is necessary, probably a requirement, is the group outlook for the next coming year. And this will be very important, like how they frame the phrase. And like Andrew said, some companies tend to overpromise, but around here they will usually use pretty prudent language. They'll just say that, oh, remain cautiously optimistic, or without the cautiously wording, maybe it means an even better picture, things like that. So anyway, annual report like tells you about the group profile. I think if you are doing like your investment research, this is probably the place where you like copy for your description of the company. Yeah, because this is first thing that you see, and then for Axiata being such a huge company, maybe the first thing that interests us is how they are geographically locate performing maybe around this part. So yeah, I don't know why this is like a bit in grayscale. Yeah, I think a colorful one would be much nicer. But anyway, yeah, they actually discuss about, again, they talk about the global outlook, and then they talk about the market dynamics, and basically region by region. It's a very compact document. Yeah, so regulatory risks, and then yeah, it even talks about your foreign exchange movement. So yep, and then yeah, I think these are quite interesting. So in terms of the contribution, Celcom is still like the main business, but XL is contributing significantly. I'm not very sure what XL is,
XL is
but
Axiata's operating subsidiary in Indonesia. So XL
ooh,
has been flagged to grow exponentially, I think, in the next few years.
yeah, man, this is crazy. They just overtaken the core business in Malaysia. Wow. And then I think Ansell is the Nepal one, right? Okay.
Ncell is new. I think only 2017 that they finished signing the government partnership because the government of Nepal is very protective of domestic businesses.
Hmm. Okay. So yeah, lor. I think in analyzing a company like Axiata is a bit complicated because it's such a big company. So and when you have like a high growing areas, it's not like you can ignore it. So yeah, you require more effort lah for the team that's covering Axiata, and again, very nice visualization on how much the revenues are distributed. Okay, but these are the things that okay, not okay. Let's jump to shareholding.
I need to sign off for a while, because I'm going to go into a place with no line. I'll rejoin back.
Okay, okay. We try to finish quite soon also. So okay lah. Let's see. We can join in later. So okay. Not sure if you can see remuneration details here, but they should actually tell us how much these directors are earning. So the monthly fees is, I'll just give it a really quick look. But it looks like the BODs are earning about 30,000 every month, and then not very excessive. I don't know. Opcos of directors, a lot also. The fees and stuff. Yeah. So these are all part of your corporate governance, how much they are earning. Sometimes you see like people paying like ridiculous amounts to the directors, but I don't think there's any red flags here um, so far. Okay, so then we can move on to the shareholding part. Substantial shareholders with, yeah, so analysis of shareholding. I mean, obviously, you have to add up to 100%. And the whole of Malaysia, you can see that, oh, there's only 20,000 shareholders for a company that's so big. So it's actually quite interesting. But that also tells you that not a lot of Malaysians are participating in the stock market. Like most of them subscribe to 1,000 to 10,000 shares. These are all retail investors. And you also have really big substantial shareholders. There's three of them. And as we can see just now, okay, so Khazanah, EPF, and also your ASB are all like substantial shareholders here. And they take up very high shares, actually over 50%, just by looking at them. So that's that lah. And then yeah, you can see three of them combined to own 70% of the total shares. So they actually have a lot of say in if the voting rights is according to the percentage of share, then
You don't need to be vegan
Right.
to go sugar free. Can you still eat chicken?
sorry, can you ask the question again?
He's asking that mommy should probably forgive them.
Forgive them to
I need to finish this.
wait. Okay. I think Rachel is in. Is she talking to us? Okay, never mind. Let me. Doesn't have to mute. Okay. Anyway, yeah. So I mean, these are not like super insightful analysis, and since the company is like really very big, usually big names will definitely come up. And okay, yeah. So this is the top 30 largest shareholders. Some of the people they really like to see who are like the individual ones. There are a few famous individual investors in Malaysia. One of them being, I forgot what his name, but there's a guy called Kun. Yu Yin, and I think he was like a founder of IJM Ipoh or something. So construction firms, if I'm not mistaken. And like people sometimes follow what he buys and try to spot if he's in the top 30 shareholders. So these are just some of the phenomena that you see. But anyway, annual report. So chairman's forward-looking statement will be something you look for. Maybe you look at the financial statements, then some visualizations of the business. Then fourthly, this is something that you should produce for your report too. Okay, and just easy to understand for your fellow um for your fellow teams to follow what you're studying around the company. So and then fourthly, maybe the shareholding composition. Yeah, so I think today we just really very briefly just go through the importance of like maintaining a steadily growing portfolio. So excessive risks is not necessarily beneficial. And secondly, also told you how to use the 72 rule to assess how much does 1 or 2% change in your investment return really impact your portfolio in the very long run, and the importance to start with a high base figure as well. And lastly is the alternative assessment. I think I'll actually just stop here because next week I'm actually expecting you guys to have like maybe an outline or something on your company. In the sense that I think I was emphasizing to the need to find out about unique insights in the companies that you recover. So in the companies that you cover. So it'd be very important for you to, you don't have to really come up with a really solid academic kind of report, but like the outline should contain what you have identified as a growth area or like a game changer for the company through whatever channels that you have found out, and just to share with us, so we'll see how it goes, because I think that will structure whether you are that will structure your eventual rating on the company, whether you want to buy, you want to sell it, or you want to just hold the company, like taking a neutral stance. And so yeah, okay, do you guys have any questions on today's session? Okay, I'm actually still expecting someone to ask anything though. So maybe we just have 2 questions and then we just end the day. Not from me. Okay. Julian says no. How about Chin and Rachel?
Hi, I just got into the call, so I most likely have to view the recording first before I ask some questions.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
thank you.
index fund outperform individual stocks. No, I don't agree. Okay. Index funds is typically your tracker lah. And I'm not sure if you can buy them on Malaysia's market. Okay. So, okay, assuming that okay, I think the sentiment that people have now is that um, index fund outperforms active fund because index is basically passive and you're just tracking. I'm pretty sure there's some very good um, articles from the FT. So yeah, people have been talking about the end of active management of a fund. Um, I really hope that there's a chart somewhere. So yeah, this is your benchmarks. All right. Basically, no, I think we need a graphic somewhere. Yes, this is good. So global resource fund. I think what this graph is trying to say is that blah blah blah. Okay, what about this one? Not this one as well. Okay, I've seen this before. Okay, this basically is talking about the trend whereby people have been increasingly pulling out their funds. As you can see, the negative region here, people have been pulling out their funds from actively managed mutual funds or whatever, and instead, like you are seeing that more and more people are going for passively managed funds because typically, when it is active, it means that it's regularly being updated lah. The So there will be buy and sell activities, and this means that an active fund will incur more transaction and activity fees, whereby your passively managed funds may just have like an annual fee, a few percentages only. So people are increasingly going for passively management because of not only the cost but also that the active funds have been performing quite poorly. Mainly, I think part of the issues here was that the global market has been really, really stable lah. So when you are like active funds, sometimes you do silly things like, you try to short a stocks, right? You try to predict that the market is going bad, and in the end, it didn't. So a lot of hedge funds were really struggling for returns, and yeah, they were struggling for returns, and that's why you see this reverse in trend. And you know how passive funds now also are getting very smart. They are like, okay, maybe they have like a really passive rule that talks about rebalancing, but it's like a fixed rule. It's not like up to this active, like a human manager to actively manage it. So that provides flexibility even to a passively managed fund. So that's why the trend is coming up. And also, this is a very informative like graph also. It is that I think in 2014, S&P returned 14%. But if you look at distribution of mutual fund performances, only 15% managed to even beat the the average investor who will just like track the market. So I think that's why Warren Buffett had an advice on people to, he actually advised people who are, he actually said that index funds are the best investment. And I think he has been saying it for many, many years in the sense that if you are just an average investor, you don't have time to, actively look at your portfolio, you don't really want to spend that mental energy and all, might as well just go for index funds. So yeah, but I don't think they outperform individual stocks because individual stocks will actually expose you to a lot of again, passive wins active, which is a very, very different fee schedule. So yeah, but individual stocks really open you up to a lot of fluctuations, and in the sense that they have very high beta. Yeah, I think that should be the definition. So beta basically just means the correlation with the broader market. And if you are going for like a very small cap, typically the beta is more than 1, which means that when the index changes by 1%, then your stock price changes by more than 1%. And typically, if you are a hedge fund, right, you want your this is like something proven for the quantitative finance academics and all. They're always looking for something that has a high alpha but low beta. So alpha is equal to your returns, meaning you want to construct like portfolios with high returns, not associated with excessive sort of risk taking. And it is like independent of broader market. It'd be very impressive if someone can have a portfolio that consistently have high returns without having to rely on the broader market trend. Because it could be just pure luck that you're registering a very high growth, but when like a crash happen, then when the tide subsides, who's swimming naked, that sort of argument, things like that. So yeah. Anyway, I'm also just looking at ASK. I think this equals to the number of seats available multiplied by the number of miles. So in just now, I think we saw AirAsia's number. It basically just means that AirAsia's flight miles have increased by a certain magnitude. And if you check their like Thailand branch, I think the number is smaller. So it makes sense is that the higher number is better when it comes to operating metrics for flight companies. So yep, that is that. Does anybody have anything else to say? Okay, cool. So I think we'll just end the session here. Is this alright with you guys? Okay lah, then whoever wants to leave can leave, and thanks a lot for being here.
Okay, bye, Shaja. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thanks, Shaja.